really good reminders. The reason my attorney's name is John Raymond, and he's really a strong voice guy, and I love some of his tactics. I met him on an airplane about 25 years ago, and I was going through a divorce at the time, and he became my attorney. And after that was all over, we became friends. He goes, his job was to make sure I didn't urinate my money away. That was his polite way of saying that. So I always kept that in mind, and I think that's kind of one of my positions now that I'm coaching school owners, is to make sure you keep your money. So with any type of business, the number one goal with the martial arts business, not just having a school or club, is profitability. And that just seems pretty much, it should be self-evident, but I don't think a lot of schools work on their ultimate profit. And Paul Garcia and I were talking a couple weeks ago, and he goes, it's the responsibility of a school owner to be profitable, because you have students coming in and they're assuming you're going to be there for the long term. You've got students that want to become instructors, and all of a sudden they start thinking, I'm going to put my career into martial arts. So they're taking your example, they want to follow your example, and that's a big responsibility, telling someone else to give up their career to become a martial artist. So when you have a business, I know we want to have good students, and if we have good students, we're probably going to make more money, not necessarily, but probably. We want to make an impact our community, but we really want to turn a profit. And turn profit's pretty easy. I mean, this isn't rocket science, or you have to be a master in business to know there's two things we work on: gross and expense. I think what some people start losing track of is controlling your gross. A lot of people think, well, I hope this month's going to be a good month. Kids are going to come back in school. I should do really good. I don't know what I'm going to make, but I know I'm going to make more money than I did in July. But that's not really controlling your gross. It's just assuming that's a good time of year that you want to do better. If you're going to run a school and you're going to start thinking about employees' futures, if you're going to start thinking about your retirement, if you have kids, sending them to school, buying cars, going on vacations, you really want to control your gross. You want to know what you're going to make month after month. Before this call, I was talking to Charles Jernigan. Charles has a traditional Japanese martial arts school in St. Louis. His goal at the beginning of this year was to average $30,000 per month, which is a huge jump. I mean, 2 years ago, he was at $8,000. But he says for him to keep doing what he's doing and growing, that he wants to do $30,000 per month. Well, last week when I was talking to him, he was at $24,000. We talked today, he was over $30,000. What happened is he did a renewal on one of his students' families, and they came up with $6,000 cash because he worked on that appointment. He made a great presentation. He did a lot of follow-up. So that was someone that was in control of their growth. They understand what had to be done, and they did it. You may have a school and you're just starting out. You say, I've got to do $15,000 a month, but I only have 10 students. That's okay. We still can do $15,000. You just have to sign up 15 people and have them prepay the program, and you can be $15,000. This is why yesterday when we started going over setting goals, we not only set goals for new students, but we set goals for down payments and paid in fulls. If you were on yesterday, we were interviewing John Baker, and John was saying that they had their second highest month ever in their school last month, or in July. They did $62,700. I asked him how much of that was reoccurring billing. So in other words, how much was that was people that were paying their contracts off? He goes, about $17,000. I go, well, you did really a lot over $17,000. Where did the rest came from? He goes, well, it was down payments, paid in fulls, upgrades, down payments, and paid in fulls. But John knows what he has to do every single month, and he's really good at controlling his gross. Next thing we want to do is control our expenses. If you know what your gross is, well, you have to work on your expenses. Some people start hiring too many people too fast, and all of a sudden their expenses are exceeding their gross. So you got to make sure that you control your expenses. It's something that you should look at every once in a while. and you're going to be finding things that you can either cut expenses or change expenses or get a better deal on insurance. But again, controlling expenses is really important. It could be just who you're ordering products from, who you're doing cleaning supplies from. But again, we're looking to cut our expenses as we increase our gross and cut our expenses. Of course, that increases our profitability. This is one that I have a real pet peeve in the martial arts industry. I talk to a lot of school owners. They go, man, I haven't paid myself in a long time. Well, how could you have a business and not pay yourself? The reason they don't pay themselves is, I call this, they're raping their company. So in other words, when they need money, all of a sudden we're going to have a party at the house, a pool party, we're going to have need a new barbecue, they take the money out of the school. It's not like they're taking out of their savings, they take the money out of their school. All of a sudden they want to treat for dinner. They pull out their credit card and they're not paying themselves because they're using their corporate credit card, and so they're draining their school out of money. It's really important to be disciplined. Just the way you got disciplined in being a martial artist, and you had all that self-control, and you made sure you trained, and you did all that, you have to discipline yourself with the money. It's just like if you work for a company, the company's going to give you a paycheck every 2 weeks or every week. Well, that's how you have to pay yourself. And this goes under controlling your expenses. How much can the company afford to pay me? Now, once you pay yourself, now you have to learn to live off that, just like everyone else in the world. You know, it's like if they're working for someone else, they have to learn to go off their paycheck. So again, you start looking at your company. What do I have for profit for the company? How much of that profit can I give myself? It's probably not 100%, because if you have a bump in the road and something comes up and the company has no money, then all of a sudden you're going to be taking a loan on the company to make it company expenses. But really paying yourself is super, super important. So again, people I talk to, that they say that they're not paying themselves, they're really using their company to pay their household expenses. And that's got to turn around. That's not running a business. So one thing I like to do is make sure I monitor both gross and expenses on a regular basis. So if you're using QuickBooks, you're using a Rainmaker, whatever you're doing, monitor your gross and expenses. Look at your expenses. Are things getting out of line? I was working with someone last week, and their cleaning expenses, to me, got way out of line. It was just way too much for cleaning expenses. So what's the alternative? So monitor what you gross and monitor what you expense every single month. If you have to make changes, you're not waiting to the end of the year when your accountant does your business go, and your accountant looks at it and goes, what is this? How come this is so high? And then you have to explain it. Well, you got to be smart about that. So you want to make sure you monitor and catch those things early. Review your expenses and lower them when possible. Again, you may, instead of going over to Walmart to buy cleaning supplies, you may become a Costco member. Now you're buying through Costco. One of the ones that I always used to use was Jet.com. Jet.com is crazy inexpensive for things like that you'd use in bathrooms and cleaning supplies and office supplies. I also think you should have an accountant that you interview. I remember when I was talking to my attorney, John Raymond, he says, I want you to interview 3 accountants for the job. So in other words, I'm not just going to go and say, hey, are you taking any new clients? He goes, interview them. In fact, I interviewed him in his office. I met 3 of them. We had appointments back to back to back. And I had one real small accountant. I got one that was a mid-sized firm, and then I got one large firm. I interviewed them all. The one that had the mid-sized firm, he seemed really, really sharp. And I felt that he could give me really good advice on saving money and saving on taxes, and I hired him. And I met with him every 3 months. In fact, I still use him. His name is Jack Milbury. And one thing Jack does is in August, he's going to be doing my year-end accounting. So he's going to tell me where I stand, and he's going to tell me anything that I have to do over the next 3 months to save money. So I'm not going to go to my accountant on next April 15th and say, okay, where do I stand for 2018? I want to know next month, because that gives me a whole quarter to make sure that if I have any adjustments to make, I can make those adjustments. So make sure you have a good accountant. It's not much as an expense because he will save you money. Also, you want to make sure you have a smart attorney. I know I was talking to Sal the other day. He says, I'm talking to my attorney. He has one that he can call on a regular basis. I think that is super important. Again, my attorney's comment to me was he wants to make sure I don't urinate my money away. So if I had a big expense, I would kind of run it past him. He also made sure that all my money was protected. And that's what we're going to here. So protecting your assets. One thing, make sure you have a corporation. So you can decide what type of corporation you want. Most everyone I know in the martial arts school has a sub-S or an LLC. Nice things about those corporations, you're not paying corporate tax and personal tax. The corporation is charged the same way you would as with personal taxes, so that's probably the smartest way to go. When you do a corporation is a unique entity. The reason you do a corporation is not to just say you can make yourself a CEO, is protect your liabilities. If someone's going to sue the corporation, they can't break that veil and sue you unless you start doing the things that I told you not to do before and you're paying personal expenses out of your corporation. If you start doing that, then attorneys can go, hey, this isn't really a corporation. This guy's just worried about his liability, but he's paying himself out of the corporation. He's doing personal expenses. It's all messed up. And that's called breaking the veil of the corporation. So you want to make sure you run that right. Next thing, make sure you have liability insurance. Liability insurance for your martial arts students. Make sure it covers people walking into your school. Make sure it covers intro students who aren't on contracts yet. Make sure it covers kids that are coming in for parents' night out. Make sure it covers kids that are coming in for birthday parties, but you want good liability insurance. I've had 2 incidents that happened in my school over like 30 years where someone got hurt and they took me to court. One was I just had 2 people sparring. I left the room for a second while they were sparring. Someone got hit, ruptured his spleen. He ended up going to hospital, almost dying. Hospital bill was $130,000. He went to sue me. I had Ruland Insurance at the time. They went and defended me, and it was great sleeping at night knowing that I was well protected. Make sure you have rental insurance so someone walking by on your sidewalk doesn't slip, fall, and break their leg. Also, make sure you're doing some type of estate planning. When I first met my attorney, I was going through that divorce, and he set up so I was buying everything in an estate. So things I were buying, houses, things like that, signing leases. I wasn't signing personally. I was signing as part of an estate. So if something happened to my finances again, no one could go after those. So talk to your attorney about what type of estate planning. Even if you're young and you start thinking about what's going to happen if something happened to me. If I got in a plane accident or something, I died, what's going to happen? Make sure your attorney sets up an estate plan. Make sure you have proper accident insurance. You don't want to have one of your students go, hey, sir, can I borrow the car to go pick up a pizza for the kids? And all of a sudden they do that and they get in an accident and now you have someone else driving your car. It was an employee and now they're saying they're driving for the school. Make sure you're well covered with your insurance. And again, you don't want to use those vehicles like that for personal errands. Make sure you have life insurance. If you're young and you haven't saved a lot of money yet, if something happens to you, you want to make sure your family and everything's protected. So make sure you have the proper life insurance. Getting a term insurance policy when you're young is very inexpensive. As you get older and you save more money, you're not worrying about, hey, if I die, I'm not going to have any money. If I got plenty of money saved up, you can always cancel that insurance. Make sure you carry workman's comp insurance. I had an incident in Connecticut where I had an instructor and he hurt his back, ended up getting in the hospital and going for back surgery. He sued me because actually I was lucky. I did have workman's comp. I thought I let it lapse. Lucky I didn't let it lapse. So my workman's comp insurance covered, but I thought I kind of exposed myself to a lawsuit at that time. So if you do have employees, make sure you have workman's comp. I know there's some effort into that because when you do workman's comp, you do have to fill out some forms. Not everyone's treated the same. If you're a front-end office person, the workman's comp is a different rate than if you had an instructor on the floor. So make sure everything's correct with your workman's comp. Again, make sure you have, I had accident insurance, but good car insurance. And the last thing, Mr. Convento and I talked about this a few days ago, have umbrella insurance. Umbrella insurance policy is above and beyond. And this would be for, say you were in a position and you had one of your instructors borrow your car, and he's going to go down and pick something up at the store, and he hits someone who's a painter, and the guy's 30 years old, and all of a sudden the guy loses his arm in the accident. Well, you may say, well, I'm going to get sued because, of course, it was my fault, and all of a sudden this person's suing me. But when a person sues you in something like that, he's going to miss 35 years of work. And say he was a painter making $100,000 a year for 35 years. So that's $3.5 million he's not going to be able to make because of his lost arm. Well, that's what they're going to sue you for. They're going to sue you for his lifetime, not just for that one accident. So an umbrella policy is usually tied with your home. It's very inexpensive to buy. If you have $3 to $4 million of umbrella insurance, you may be spending $500 per year. But if you're building up a business and your business is becoming more and more valuable, you start getting some net worth, and all of a sudden you buy a house, you want to make sure you had umbrella insurance. I first learned about umbrella insurance when I bought my Great Dane. All of a sudden someone goes, hey, aren't you worried about that dog biting anyone? I go, no, it would never, ever happen. Well, what if it does? So all of a sudden I said, okay, I've got to get something above and beyond. So that's when I researched umbrella insurance, and that's when I started learning about the lifetime earnings of someone and not just that one incident. So I know these are common sense ideas, but I think they're all important. Again, the goal of your business is profitability. Now, I know the more people that we help, the more people we serve, the more money we're going to make. So that's part of it. So when I say profitability, I'm not saying you're just worried about money, money, money. Well, you are worried about money, but you're also concerned about how you're going to earn that money. Martial arts being such a unique opportunity to help people, we should be able to help a lot of people. And again, that's going to increase our gross. Next thing is, gross doesn't come by accident. Gross comes from planning. You could have 15 students and gross 20,000 next month. You could have 150 students and gross 20,000. It's on how smart you do your marketing and how you charge. It's just not how much money you charge in total. It's how you get paid. Schools that take in 50% paid in full for new students always gross a lot more. That's why someone like Von Schmeling with his Victory Martial Arts, and his average student value is $238 because he really knows how to control his gross. Next thing, you can have a good gross and still make no money if your expenses are out of control. I talked to someone the other day, and he was adamant about hiring a new employee. I go, where's the money going to come from? Well, if I hire this person, then he's going to make me more money. I go, well, how are you going to pay him in the meantime? So again, make sure you control your expenses. Next thing is you've got to learn to pay yourself, and then pay your personal expenses out of that. Now, if everyone kind of understands all these things about having an accountant, having an attorney, and you say it sounds too easy, well, everything's all in the details. So again, in the details of making this happen, doing your marketing, that comes next. But this is kind of the overall big picture. Not only running a profitable business, but at the same time, making sure you keep all those profits by being properly insured and looking out for yourself and having good policies in place. Do we have any comments, questions? Anything you'd like to talk about?
Yes, sir. My only comment is I wanted to kind of inform the group about my workman's comp deal. and I had it. You guys just got to stay on top of your policy so that it doesn't what was it?
That's,
It doesn't lapse. And a lot of that is just paying attention to the details, and it can cost you a lot of money in lawyer fees. So that's a big lesson learned.
yeah. I don't want to say that was the example I was talking about, so I was trying to cover you there, Mr. Sal.
No, I want to be honest with people, because it's a great lesson for me that as much as I do probably 95% of what you're saying, and it only takes that 5% where you let something lapse because you're so busy trying to work the business, and that's normal. And you're thinking big picture, but the little picture, turning in your payroll reports and things like that I thought was kind of mundane, kind of bites me in the butt. And so it's just reality. we can't just think of big picture and that's it. And so now I go through my mail on a weekly basis, and make sure that all the bills are paid in time and everything that's requested is done in time, because there's so many things that we do as business owners that you don't want that to fall through the cracks.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate that reinforcement. Okay, everyone. I know you're busy planning for August. You got 4.5 weeks for August. It should be a great month. Some of you guys are already back into the back to school mode. Some of you don't start back to school until September. But even though that we know it's towards the end of summer, kids going back to school, sometimes a slow part of year. That's okay. Slow part of year just means we have to put more activities in place to get the same type of results. So it doesn't have to be a bad month. It just means we're going to have to work a little harder to get it, which is fine. Just bring it on.
Yes, sir.
All right, everyone. Thank you. Thanks again, Mr. Commento, for participating and giving us that advice that kind of made all this a little bit more important. Thank you.
Thank you.